Hello and welcome to the Guardian Football Weekly. France say, is there any point for the rest of us? A 3-0 win over Sweden, but it could have been 8. They didn't score until just before half-time, but they'd already created so much. Every time you looked up, Barcola, Dembélé, Olise and Mbappé were streaming forward like Mark Langdon going past Swedes like they weren't there. Mbappe's quick feet for the first, and then 2 perfect assists from Olise for Barcola, and then Mbappé again. It'll be some Paraguayan bust in the last 16. England have a long way to go before worrying about France. If they beat DR Congo, then Mexico at the Azteca looks pretty tricky if tonight's anything to go by. They battered Ecuador from the first minute. Jimenez hammering home the goals in the first half before they shut up shop. And then Erling Haaland left it late for Norway against the Ivory Coast, getting just enough on it to see the ball roll home like a perfectly weighted putt. It wasn't a classic, but the goals were all great. Nusa and Ahmed with brilliant individual strikes. We'll go back to Comedian's Corner. There's some advice on melons, your questions, and that's today's Guardian Football Weekly. On the panel today with me in LA, Barry Glendenning, welcome.
Hi, Max.
Hello, Archie, Rhind-Tutt.
Hey, Max.
And on the night shift in Birmingham, Dan Bardell.
Hello, Max.
Right, let's start then with France's 3-0 win over Sweden in a hot New Jersey. Blimey, Barry. Is there any point? They look so much better than everyone else.
Are you scared, Max?
Are you? Listen, I was saying to you, I think I'd rather lose to DR Congo than have to play that French team.
They were so impressive. It was the standout display of this tournament so far. They're sort of playing this otherworldly, different sport to anything we've seen from any other team thus far in the tournament. It's intricate passing, just mesmerising, hypnotic play. It's lightning fast. Their front four is just, quite frankly, terrifying. Michael Olise, it's between him and Mbappé, I think, at the moment, for the best player in the world, and they're both on the same team. And for a French team, they seem remarkably ego-free. They seem to have a real collective spirit and a real togetherness. And if they can keep that up, and there's no guarantee they will play that well again, they may get better.
Yeah.
You might as well hand them the trophy right now. But I have noticed people are drawing a lot of comparisons being drawn with the Brazil side, the story Brazil side that played in the 1982 World Cup and didn't win it. So there's that.
There is that. I mean, I don't know, Dan, how many times commentators have said it's been coming, but when Mbappé scored, a goal has never been more coming in the history of the game.
Yeah, it was ridiculous, wasn't it? I mean, I didn't think they started brilliantly maybe for the first 20 minutes or so, but when they kind of clicked, they really clicked. They've just got silk, swagger, firepower. They can hurt you from every angle possible. They've got penetration. Olise is just absolutely ridiculous. I think everybody knew he was a good player, but I don't think anybody knew that he could get to this level. And I think Sweden held on for as long as they possibly could, didn't they? But it happens so often that when a team concedes right on half-time and the kind of half-time team talk goes absolutely out the window, they then come out in the second half and concede straight after half-time as well. It happens so many times in football that they could have scored 6, 7, 8, and they're taking players off at the end and bringing on other excellent players. They are just an absolute handful. And do you remember, it probably was a while ago now, but there was a point where France, I think they won the World Cup and they were accused of being a little bit negative, but they got the job done and they won the World Cup in that way. I think they might win the World Cup in a more sexier way this time.
Michael Olise's 5 assists at the World Cup, the most by a player at a single edition of the tournament since Thomas Hessler for Germany in '94. And look, you've watched a lot of Olise this season, Archie. And I think a lot of people who haven't really studied his game just wouldn't necessarily have passing as perhaps his great. I mean, he's got a lot of great attributes, but his passing is unbelievable.
It's how he's adapted his position during this tournament as well. That first half against Senegal, we weren't sure about France. In fact, everything was pointing towards that image that Dan's been speaking of there, that this is the French team that, can they click together? It doesn't seem quite right with the balance, but...
Don't look at me and Barry, we cannot remember the first 20 minutes of France-Senegal.
But it's this trickery and disguise that Michael Olise has, watch how he continually drags the ball back with his studs, as if almost to invite them, as if to bait the opposition and say, come and get it. But you never can get it. He has become such a clutch player for Bayern, and whilst the second leg of the Champions League semis, yep, that happened not too long ago, Max. That was a disappointing game. He's shown up so many other times, and actually when Bayern have been in peril, you notice, who do we give the ball to? We give it to Olise. But it feels wrong. I cannot just stick with one player here. Yeah. And that, for me, is the scariest thing, is we're told so often, you can't have your cake and eat it with attacking players. You need certain players to be doing certain other jobs. France can. They can have all that quality and everyone plays for each other. There's only been one bad murmur that I've seen come through, which was of Ryan Cherky looking a bit snippy with Didier Deschamps after the game.
He does only get 3 minutes a game, to be fair.
But how can he complain when that is what is happening? And I saw the way that France started this game, not so much as slow, but more just studying the opposition and going, what have you got? And then slowly they raised the pressure cooker more and more and more until Sweden just couldn't cope. And it's difficult to really accuse Sweden of doing too much wrong here because France was so good.
Yeah. I mean, their keeper had a great game, didn't he?
France scored 3, thumped 2 against the post. I mean, that over scissors kick from Olise on the edge of the penalty was just ridiculous.
Just one thing on that. Max, what were you doing when Olise did that scissor kick?
Oh, I can't remember.
Oh, I remember. You were watching the Mark Langdon vegetable video.
Yeah, of course I was. It's on Instagram. I mean, they're both equal pieces of art.
They'd one disallowed for really tight offside, and Zetterstrom made 5 big saves. Big saves, like good, important saves, as opposed to... So it could have been so much worse for Sweden, who I don't think did a great deal wrong.
Yeah. I mean, there was that moment where Barcola sort of dropped the shoulder and these 2 Swedish players just fell over, like synchronised. And we haven't even talked about Mbappe's feet yet for the first goal, Dan. It's interesting when we talk about, him being a real team player and everything working compared to Mbappé at Real Madrid, where often he gets the criticism for, wanting to play in a certain position. And I don't know what that says about Real Madrid, but that doesn't really matter right now. Like, his feet for that first goal are so good.
Yeah, I've wrote down Mbappé Feetabix is what I've wrote down on my notes. I mean, we could talk about France all day, and we probably should talk about them all day.
I think we want to deconstruct Feetabix for a sec. Does it make any sense?
I've heard it somewhere before. I've grabbed it from somewhere. I've definitely not come up with that myself. I'm definitely not that intelligent. His feet for the first goal were again, we keep using the word ridiculous, but that was how the whole game transpired in terms of how France played. I mean, it was kind of like Isak passing him over to Gyökeres, which probably wasn't the ideal bit of defending that Sweden won, but you can't take anything away from him. He was so quick. I don't think I've ever seen a player move his feet so quickly and drive at defences. It was absolutely ludicrous and a great goal.
Flatly Mbappé.
That's what he is. So I was thinking Weetabix for feet is not a good... I mean, I know it rhymes, but apart from rhyming, it's actually no... They're either really dry or really soggy.
Dan is quite sleep deprived.
It's 4 a.m. or whatever. Yeah, Colin Miller writing, since 2018, France have scored more World Cup knockout goals than England, Portugal, Netherlands, Spain, Germany and Italy combined. Kylian Mbappé, that's 24 goals. The combined total for the other countries is 22. Kylian Mbappe's got 10. He's scored more World Cup knockout goals in that time than any of those leading European nations. It's not a question.
It was kind to throw Italy in there, wasn't it? Last time they qualified.
No, you're right. But yeah, I mean, beyond that, I suppose there is a question. Because you say, Archie, those 4 can work. And is that because Tchouaméni and Rabiot are doing such a good job? Or the ball doesn't really get back to Tchouaméni and Rabiot for them to worry about it? Because I've been really impressed with Rabiot, given that I, for some reason, have a preconceived idea of what Rabiot is.
Everyone is functioning, and that there is a similarity to what Kylian Mbappe's doing in this context, in how there was in how it was for Paul Pogba with France. How the best version of Pogba was with France, not at club level. So there has been a precedent for that. I think that such is the pressure applied by that front four. Rabiot and Tchouaméni only have to do so much. They only have to hold their positions, and then it's let's take the deck chairs out and watch what unfolds here. That's the most exciting thing. And when Didier Deschamps is bowing down to Kylian Mbappé as he comes off.
Yeah, we don't need that.
But I think that is a message because it plays into all those dictator memes about Kylian Mbappé for a start. But no, on a serious level, I think that is some recognition. And yeah, all parts of this French team are functioning. And even when Mike Maignan had to make a save, he looked pretty sharp as well.
Yeah. And actually, when Sweden did break through, then you've got Upamecano and Saliba, who that's pretty useful, right?
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to try and nitpick, I would say Gyökeres gave Saliba a bit of a torrid time, a fella obviously he knows well, early in the first half, and it was a good battle between them, which I think Gyökeres was winning, in so much as it was any kind of battle, because Sweden didn't get forward too often, but we're all going to look like chumps now when Paraguay hold them scoreless and then beat them on penalties, aren't we?
I was going to say, how deep are Paraguay going to be?
Yeah, the Carper.
Exactly, it's going to be amazing. Anyway, well done to France. That was really quite good, and that'll do for part one. Part two, we'll do the game we've just seen, Mexico beating Ecuador in Mexico City. Welcome to part two of the Guardian Football Weekly. So Mexico 2, Ecuador 0. And actually, Archie, you spotted this first. And we're on the fourth floor of the hotel, but we looked out the window and we're sort of quite high in the Hollywood Hills. It looks down over LA, and all these fireworks are going off everywhere because obviously it's a huge number of Mexicans in this city. Their first knockout win since 1986. First time they've had 4 clean sheets in a row at a World Cup. And for 45 minutes, Archie, they were relentless. And that's all they needed.
The fireworks reflected the performance and I'm sure the atmosphere at the Azteca, because they came out with such a bang. And fireworks is also a theme for this game because of what the Mexican fans were doing outside the Ecuadorian hotel on the night before as well. And Ecuador were not happy about that, filed an official complaint. And yet, on the balance
of complaint do? We're really awfully tired, FIFA. Can you do what? They did delay the game for an hour, I suppose.
True. True, but you could have posed a legitimate question after the group stages and gone, okay, we saw the worst of South Africa against Mexico. We saw South Korea and Czechia, who have both since had their coaches step down from their positions. How good is this Mexican team? And this delivered an answer. Julian Quiñones, who has been such a star for them at this World Cup, it's such a turnaround as well, because in January 2025, Javier Aguirre, the coach, was saying, look, nobody watches the Saudi League, nobody. And as a message to Quiñones to say, look, what are you doing out there?
I mean, it's a factual point, essentially, but no.
He starts the Gold Cup for Mexico last year, but he doesn't start any of their remaining games. And now he comes into this tournament where he's now being compared to Hugo Sanchez, the GOAT of Mexican football. And quite sweetly as well, if sweetly is the right word, Quiñones has been talking about, look, I want to give back to Mexico what they gave me, because he moved from Colombia when he was 17. And if that was his aim, he has more than achieved that. It was not just from him. You could pick out Raul Jimenez as well, even though he missed that early chance, but just the way that the pressure grew. Eric Lira again in central midfield for them was superb. Gilberto Mora, who became the youngest player since Pelé to start a knockout game in the World Cup, I think it was. He looked so good. And even Raul Rangel in goal for them. 2 excellent saves from John Yeboah Zamora. Mm-hmm. The way that they managed the game in the second half, this was almost a perfect display from Mexico.
Yeah. I mean, the Jimenez, he almost scored a Keith Ouchin. I mean, he probably should have done, Barry, but both their goals had a real sort of Mexico 86 feel to me. Just wallop it home.
Yeah, they really stayed. The move for the second, just short, sharp, quick passes, and Jimenez is put through, and just wet leathers it. And the goalkeeper didn't get near either of them, as far as I can remember. Hugely impressive. I mean, I was very unimpressed with Ecuador's effort, and they just seemed to be totally overwhelmed. I don't know if it was the crowd, the occasion, the fact that they didn't have any sleep last night, but Mexico just tore at them like the hounds of hell, and Ecuador barely got a touch for the first 15 minutes of the game. I think the only two shots of note they had were Yeboah's, which his uncle Tony would have been proud of both of them, even if they didn't go in. And as Archie said, Mexico just controlled the second half and saw it out with ease you wouldn't expect, really. Ecuador had nothing.
Is he his Uncle Tony?
No.
I didn't think it was. I've checked so many times. I can't tell you how many times I've checked. It is late. I'm as tired as the Ecuadorians. It is such a great Championship Manager regen name, isn't it? John Yeboah Zamora. I thought, I mean, all Ecuador did really was just nothing until the 93rd minute, and then they were just annoyed, so wanted to kick somebody. I mean, you have said, Barry, and if England beat DR Congo, and they may not, we don't know, that Mexico at the Azteca is the game that you're penciling for. It's done, and it will not be easy if that happens.
On the evidence of tonight, I think Mexico would tear England apart. On the evidence of tonight, and on the evidence of what I've seen from England so far, Mexico haven't conceded a goal yet in this tournament, and England they've done just about the bare minimum. They haven't been impressive at all. This was a very impressive display, but we're getting ahead of ourselves on a number of levels.
Of course.
Again, Mexico might not play that well again.
I mean, even if we are getting ahead of ourselves, or we say England or DR Congo, Dan, with that sort of the hotel and thus the noise. I mean, I don't know if you've seen the footage of Ecuador, the team being kept awake all night. If you were, let's say it's England, would you do like 2 hotels? Would you like book 3 different hotels? Like get some lookalikes? Like how are you going to try and smuggle them into somewhere that means you could actually have a night's sleep? Because you're not sleeping. You are 5 months old. You know what it's like. It's hard to perform at this level.
I've got to shock you here, Max. Most Mexican hotels are probably staffed by Mexicans who let the cat out of the bag.
But there's disguises. There's this Mission Impossible masks. I don't know, Dan.
The Dear England cast, they could go and get a few
There
of
you
them.
go.
Couldn't I
There you
get
go.
them involved? That's the best way forward that I can think of. I mean, without the hotel stuff taken into account, I think sometimes a host nation can just get some serious momentum. And I think that's what Mexico have got. USA and Canada have both had it to an extent, but not to the extent that Mexico have got it. And that game, if England do get through, the atmosphere will be like probably nothing those England players have ever experienced. And they would have played in some hostile atmospheres. They'd have played in atmospheres all over the world. But that will be something else and a true test of where this England team is at if they beat DR Congo.
Yeah, it will just be, we'll be relying on who can put in a reducer in the 93rd minute, so we can feel like we got something out of the game. Hincapié, the second player to get sent off for covering his mouth. Disappointingly, the referee didn't give as good a VAR review as Ivan Barton. I sort of feel like it's probably muscle memory with Hincapié. I don't know. They were desperate for something. Someone was going to get sent off for Ecuador, weren't they? Anyway, the other game, Norway beating the Ivory Coast. A very late goal from Erling Haaland. And Dan, it was an interesting. It was sort of classic Haaland game, right? He didn't really touch the ball, but he did what he had to do. Seeing his dad choking up in the stands was pretty emotional. But that finish was kind of not perfect. But I do like a slow finish.
It's not the type of finish I think we've ever seen from Haaland. It was almost like a heavy first touch, wasn't it, that just trickled over the line. You could see the kind of angst on his face as well, that there wasn't enough on it and it wasn't going to get over the line. But you're right to say it's like the typical vintage Haaland performance where he's not involved loads. He had a couple of headers, or soft headers again in the first half, but I don't remember him doing too much else. But he doesn't need to, because he's just got that knack of when his team that he's playing for needs something, he's in the right place at the right time. And it certainly wasn't the most beautiful goal out the goals that were in that game last night, but it was definitely the most telling and the most important. He's just inevitable, Erling Haaland. I just want to know why he wears Braut Haaland on the back of his shirt for Norway, but not for Manchester City. If it feels like the kind of thing Archie would know. It's not.
Okay, so there you are. Nice try. I mean, you looked at who was in the room. It's okay. We know our place. Lars, who would know, he posted, I love that today was about more than Haaland and Ødegaard. Berg lost his place just before the tournament, won it back instead of sulking for this game, was man of the match. Nyland, constantly doubted by just about everyone, including myself, coming up with a huge save at the end. And actually, Berg, Barry, for that Haaland goal, like, it's a lovely little pass from Oscar Bob, but that little dinked cross from Berg was perfect, wasn't it?
Yeah, just a perfectly squared ball to Haaland, and he's very much one of these guys. Well, I suppose they all play second fiddle to Haaland, but he's one of the more anonymous, not Haaland, not Ødegaard, yeah. I'm really undermining my own point here. Yeah. One of the blokes, the 9 other blokes. He's very much one of them. It was a bit of a miss kick by Haaland. I mean, this game was a bit odd insofar as not much happened before the first drinks break, and then Norway Nusa scored. Lovely finish by him, by the way. That was very much against the run of play, because Diamande and Nicola Pepe had been causing Norway all sorts of problems with their forays down each wing, and then Norway missed 2 very good chances before half time. So I thought the Ivory Coast might come back into it. They duly did. When Amad Diallo came on, he scored a beauty, probably the goal of the tournament until France took to the field. And he also blocked one on the line. That a certain goal for Norway. But Haaland stepped up to score in his 13th consecutive international.
He was Braut for his mum, Gry Marita Braut, her maiden name, former Norwegian heptathlete. Thank you, Joel. Very kind of you for Googling mid-pod. It means they've got Brazil, Norway. That feels quite intriguing to me.
They've beaten Brazil at a World Cup before. In 1998, in the group stages.
Oh, that's right.
Fans were dancing on the streets outside Norwegian Parliament, I was told today.
Right.
And I'd like to just add to that point about Haaland and it not being about everyone else, because my memories of recent tournaments gone by is seeing teams turn up like Poland, and before that Zlatan Ibrahimovic, and you see a big shiny number 9 and your mind wanders to, wow, imagine what could happen if this all clicks together. But I think we've seen what the real difference is having such a strong supporting cast, because the strength and depth that Norway have with Oscar Bob, that ball that he plays into Patrick Berg, it's such a narrow corridor of time that he has to play that, and the weight of it is superb. Patrick Berg actually did a mirror assist of the one he did today against Senegal as well. It was with his left foot. So the technical ability that he has is wonderful. And vindication for Ståle Solbakken as well. After all those rotations against France, where, to be honest, their B team gave France a pretty good game, considering the circumstances. That they also have improved defensively since the opening game against Iraq. I think there were some worries in Norway about how good is this team really if this is how we're getting on. But they have allayed those fears at each turn. And Antonio Nusa for RB Leipzig this season has been outshone by Jan Diamande who is his opponent today, but it was Nusa who had the upper hand on this occasion.
Yeah, and actually the slow-mo replay from behind the goal for Nusa's goal is great. And while we're throwing people under the bus, as Ahmad was running through, Archie said, I don't know why people are so worried about the Norwegian defence. And then Ahmad went, bing, 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 goal. All right. Some really good COCOMS competition here. I mean, when Haaland scored, Warren Barton said, you're going to have to pay your taxes, you're going to die, and Haaland's going to score a goal. You know, all right, Warren. I mean, we all know, we're aware of our mortality, but I wasn't thinking about it at that exact moment. But you had the BBC commentary, Dan, which included Danny Murphy when Oscar Bob came on. We used to have a cat called Bob. He jumped into the back of a Royal Mail van, and we lost him. Sad, really. Perhaps the greatest bit of commentary of the World Cup so far.
I'm expecting there to be a film made of that story or something. It was an incredible piece of commentary from Danny Murphy. I don't even know how to even begin to comment on it. I mean, some investigations take place now that it's been brought to the mainstream of what happened to Danny Murphy's cat Bob. And is Bob a good name for a cat? I don't think it is.
Oh, I think it is quite a good name.
I misheard it, and I thought he'd said Bob the cat jumped in front of him or
Right.
Mail van. I was thinking, Danny Murphy had a suicidal cat. And now he's bringing it up in the middle of a game between Norway.
I mean, either way, bringing it up is interesting.
But the thing is, I want to make it clear, I'm not having a go at Danny Murphy. It was brilliant.
Yeah, it was great.
It was just this total non sequitur. He heard the name Bob and just went into this feline reverie.
You know when commentators are obsessed with showing you their notes? They're like, I don't care about your notes. And you do think Danny Murphy's notes were like, Bob had a cat called Bob. Stephen wrote, someone tell Danny Murphy that if the cat was black and white and its real name was Jess and she was going just where she belonged, which is a good point. It does remind me, I'm a big fan of Danny. And I've said before, the best phone-in I've ever done on TalkSport was with Danny Murphy. And the phone-in was, have you ever seen Danny Murphy out and about and not asked for a photo because he looked so miserable? And the phone lines went absolutely wild. He just said when you played for Liverpool, you had to have a resting go-away face. Otherwise, you couldn't get anything done. I mean, he does have a resting go-away face. There's no doubting it. Anyway, I love to Danny.
Maybe that's why his cat went away.
Danny looked so pissed off. He was like, I just want to go to a sorting office. That's what I want. Anyway, that'll do for part 2. Part 3, we'll look ahead to tomorrow's games, including England versus DR Congo. Welcome to part 3 of the Guardian Football Weekly. So tomorrow, England, DR Congo, Belgium, Senegal, USA versus Bosnia, Herzegovina. England then. I mean, the general feeling is, Archie, that DR Congo will set up more like Ghana than Panama, right? This is England against a low block. So deep breath, everybody.
It feels that way, especially having watched DR Congo's performance against Portugal in their group opener, where despite going behind pretty early in that, DR Congo's plan did not change. Sébastien Desabre has been renowned for how team-orientated their approach is. They've had problems with individuals taking the limelight before, but this is definitely not the case. And the thing that impressed me most about that performance was when Portugal were 1-up, they weren't taking any of the bait. They just stuck to their plan and thought, we are going to get our chance here. It doesn't matter what happens and what's thrown at us. And it's not just the patience of the England players that there is a question mark over. It's Thomas Tuchel as well, because seeing the way that he jumps up and down if you are not following his plan to the exact detail through a tournament, you can imagine that is going to grind against certain players. It was surprising to see him do it when Harry Kane sprayed that long ball early against Panama, because I thought that Kane might have special status with him. Apparently not.
And it's quite a Harry Kane thing to do.
It's something that he does usually very well. It's going to be about patience. This is not going to be an open game. It will not be pretty. We all need to buckle up.
What's the vibe back home, Dan?
A little bit of a trepidation. I think in a weird way, I'm more worried about this type of game than I would be if we played Brazil, because I agree with Tuchel that I think England will play better against better teams, but this kind of game is England's kryptonite, and we've already been frustrated by Ghana, who, as we say, we expect Congo to set up in a similar way. And there was periods in the first kind of hour where Panama it was the same. So this is knockout football now. You're getting towards the business end. So England need the group. You can get away with it, but England will need to come up with something tonight in that game. And I feel like Tuchel's making a few too many changes on a game to game basis on the evidence that we've had so far. Like, he clearly doesn't know his best team. There's noise that Konsa's going to play right back, which, against a nation like Brazil where you want to shut someone down, I think that's absolutely fine. But if it's against a team like DR Congo who are going to sit in, like, you kind of need all the creativity and all the forward momentum you can get, and that isn't going to be Ezri Konsa at right back. He'll sit in and make it more of a back three. So I think there's more questions than answers right now.
Although if Konsa plays right back, Stones plays centre back and is better at passing the ball, I guess. Right, that's the trade-off than if you play Spence at right back.
Then he played the first game and then has disappeared, and then you're bringing him back in for the fourth game. Like I said, I just think Tuchel, especially at the back, and I know he's had injuries, but I'm not sure he's sure what the right combination is. And in that first game, when he put Stones in, the back four just looked like a back four that had never played together before, because that's what they were.
What do you reckon, Baz?
Easy England win.
Are you saying that because then you've covered yourself? What is that? Is that reverse
you
psychology?
You asked me what I think, and I think it'll be an easy England win.
Okay, all right. Any more?
They need to move the ball quicker. They need to get better crosses into the box. And if it's 0-0 with 10 minutes to go, get Tony on. Yeah. They need to up their game. They really do. They've been very unimpressive so far, apart from one half against Croatia. And yeah, if they don't get up their game, they won't sniff a win in this tournament.
Just to say, I think Quansah and Reece James both missed final training, didn't they? So
it could be Quansah or it could be Spence.
Probably Spence.
Yeah.
I think also really important that the wingers properly turn up. That hasn't happened in the first three games. And the people who were calling for the inclusion of Phil Foden and Cole Palmer will look at that and go, why? What's happening here? But the key difference is that these players fit Tuchel's system. He wants players who can run into space more, who are more willing to do that, or more used to doing that. It's just that
we need the space to run into it. We need to beat these teams to play the teams that give the space.
Exactly.
Do you think Foden, Wharton and Palmer are meeting up for England games just to have laugh-alongs, big buckets of popcorn, fizzy pop?
You wouldn't want them to win
a good giggle.
I think you'd want them to do well, but you wouldn't want them to win. Would you? It depends how great a guy you are. If you're Phil Foden, I reckon Jack Grealish wants them to win.
Yeah, but Jack Grealish wasn't winning an ass.
No,
Aurora getting on in that squad.
Although Dan did say, this game is England's kryptonite. I mean, I'd say England have quite a few different kryptonites from my experience of watching World Cups. Belgium, Senegal, that feels nicely poised, Archie.
Especially because Belgium haven't really found their feet. Okay, they did against New Zealand, but they have been really poor in front of goal. How many shots it's taken for them to score their goals in this tournament so far. And if we're judging as France, if we're judging that France are the team to beat, then the best performance against them so far was by Senegal in that opening game. And even though they were in the league table of third place finishers, the worst of the 8, I think they're the strongest of the 8. So intrigued to see if Edouard Mendy is back in goal. He's flown from the tournament back to Jeddah in Saudi Arabia for some treatment on his knee, and then flown back again in the hope of being fit for the game.
Seems a long way to go for a knee team, and surely there's a doctor in America.
This was something that also
how good is that?
Crossed
it's
my
a Jedi.
mind.
It's a Jedi in Jeddah, isn't it? It has to be.
It also crossed my mind, but yeah, I think Senegal are a fun team to watch, and they were unfortunate with the group that they drew. So I'd probably make them light favourites here.
It is hypocritical for an England fan to say it feels like the US are sort of looking ahead, looking beyond Bosnia, but that's the sort of vibe you get from the coverage here. Occasionally they stop themselves and go, look, Bosnia are pretty wily. But you'd imagine the US...
Apart from that reporter who claimed not to be able to pick it out on a map. Although, to be honest, I don't think I could pick up Bosnia out on a map either, but that's entirely down to my own lack of geographical knowledge and not in any way disparaging of... Yeah, they are definitely looking ahead of that game, and that's a dangerous game to play. But they're very excited about how well their team is doing so far.
Yeah, probably good for the tournament if they keep progressing. Any other business? Ronald Koeman has left his job as head coach of the Netherlands. He posted a farewell message on Instagram saying, "We all dreamed of a World Cup in which we would write history. That didn't work out. No one's more disappointed about that than me. The past years have made me realise again that there's more important things than football. Football's been my life, but health is priceless. When someone you love is fighting a tough battle, your perspective changes." Koeman's wife has breast cancer. Before the tournament, he said, "My wife, Bartina, isn't here with me. Every Wednesday afternoon, she undergoes chemotherapy cycles, then suffers from side effects for 1 or 2 days. Sometimes life is difficult for her, for me, for all of us together. We hope the treatments yield positive results, but it's tough. So we wish her and him well, of course." Depressingly predictable racist abuse directed at the Dutch players who missed penalties. We find this appalling, the Dutch FA said. Football brings together millions of different people, whereas discrimination does the exact opposite. It runs counter to everything football stands for. Agree with that wholeheartedly. In US government news, Barry, the Department of Homeland Security Secretary Mark Wayne Mullen has said he's so happy Iran are out of the World Cup. Admitted during a World Cup security briefing, "I'm just glad they're done and they're not coming back. I was so happy when we were able to pull their visas and said they could leave the US soil. I might have sung a song or two and even danced a happy dance." I suppose US government official being tone deaf is not a surprise.
Well, what is slightly surprising is that Mark Wayne Mullen seems to be even more objectionable than the woman he replaced. That takes some doing.
Yeah, it's pretty grim stuff, isn't it? The Iran team left a handwritten note addressed to the people of Mexico, which read, "You showed us that hosting a FIFA World Cup is about far more than stadiums and tickets. We leave this World Cup with pride, but also with one fundamental question. Did every team truly compete under equal conditions and equal professional standards? What we experienced was a series of decisions, logistical arrangements, and circumstances that undermined the sense of fairness, an impression only reinforced by the events of the final match day of our group." But at least Gianni went into the dressing room and said, "You've got this, lads," so that's fine. A moderate gear change. Gina says regarding melons, "Tell Archie melons from Visa Farms at the Santa Monica Farmers Market will change his life."
Ooh.
Pete says, "A melon spoon, the game's gone." Nish Kumar writes, as we enter Comedian's Corner, "How bad is Archie's diet? Ellis says he eats melon. Say it ain't so." Ellis James said, "Listen, I like Archie a lot. I think he's a great panellist. But if you think I'm tuning into Football Weekly for a combination of astute football analysis and melon spoon content, you've got another thing coming. You're living in dreamland." Josh Widdicombe writes, "It now feels like a nuclear arms race between comedians to get their Mark Langman text read out. It's becoming more important than the Perrier Award." Yeah.
It's not as if Widdicombe, James and Kumar don't have enough podcasts going between them that they have to hijack ours to have,
Yeah, if any other comedians could stop using this. You're in a WhatsApp group together. I've seen the screenshots, for goodness sake. Dara O'Brien listens. Tim Key listens. Yeah. Ben Fisher was at a gig in Bristol. Tim Key was performing in Bristol, and Tim was talking to someone in the audience about podcasts, and the audience said he listened to Football Weekly, and Tim said, "Oh, I love Football Weekly." And he said, I think Tim Key said, "I'm going to listen to it. At the end of the day, it's going to be my treat for the day." And then he just looked to the sky and he said, "Max Rushden, a tornado of vanilla."
At the risk of sounding like a complete knob, I had a great chat with Tim Key at Ellis James's wedding.
Right.
Where I also spoke to Nish Kumar and Josh Widdicombe.
Right, okay. Is there any anecdote?
No.
No, okay. So, yeah, I suppose you did sound a bit of a knob.
Yeah.
But that's okay.
Clang, clang,
yeah,
clang.
Yeah. I've lived with you for long enough to know that it's true. Anyway, that'll do for today. Thank
Sorry,
you. Yeah.
Are you accusing me of name dropping?
Well, you just did name drop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you said, "But I'm a name dropper because you insinuated."
No. I don't. I'm not accusing you of name drop. Okay, I'm accusing you of being a knob.
Oh, all right. That's fine.
All right, that'll do for today. Thanks, everybody. Thank you, Dan.
Thank you.
Thanks, Barry.
Thank you.
Thank you, Archie.
Thanks, Matt.
Football Weekly is produced by Rory Simon and Matt Bentley-Viney. Our executive producers are Joel Grove and Daniel Stevens. We'll be back tomorrow.